Okay, we are in the IT Theory LB grade 10 on the term 2 um, basic concepts of hardware, starting with unit 3.1 types of hardware. Okay, so you get a lot of types of hardware for a computer. These are namely input, output, memory, storage, processing, communication. Okay, for this lesson we'll look at input devices. So an input device is basically any device that allows a user to interact with the computer directly, and that device then gives basically data and instructions to the computer. Okay, examples of these are keyboards, pointing devices, touchscreens, touchpads, tablet, pen, input devices, game controllers, cameras, microphones, video capture devices, scanners, optical readers, biometric devices, and data collection devices. Okay, we'll dive into each one a bit more. Okay, so a keyboard. So we all know what a keyboard is, how it looks like. So a computer, like a desktop, would use a physical huge keyboard, and if you look at a smartphone, what is also a keyboard is if you type on a smartphone, you'll see like a virtual keyboard pops up, and then you can actually type on your phone using that touchscreen keyboard. Advantages and disadvantages of a keyboard. So advantages is most computers come with a keyboard supplied. It is quite easy to type with, so you need very little training. Someone who's very skilled and a skilled typist can enter data very quickly, and you also get specialized keyboards that are ergonomic, like gaming keyboards are also available, so it's a bit more specialist keyboards. Okay, then you get disadvantages. Okay, so disabled people often find keyboards difficult to use, and if you use it too much, it can actually cause health problems such as RSI, or repetitive strain injury. Okay, I mentioned disabled people can find it difficult to use. So how is keyboards adapted for disability purposes? So you get key guards, which is small plates that allow a user to rest their hands on the keyboard without pressing any of the keys by accident. Okay, then you get on-screen or virtual keyboards displayed on the user screen. So for instance, if I change quickly to tablet mode and I open up a virtual keyboard, you can see I can actually type now on my screen. Okay, so I don't actually need my keyboard. Okay, let me just change back. And then you also get braille keyboards. Okay, so that is just basically keyboards that blind people or visually impaired users can use, and it has actually just braille dots indicating the letters and such on the keyboard. Okay, next we get a mouse. Okay, so a mouse is basically just a common type of a pointing device. Advantages is it is ideal for desktops and laptop computers. So it requires very little training, and it works well if you use a keyboard with it. Okay. Disadvantages is they need a flat space to operate. Okay. Excessive use can lead also to health problems such as repetitive strain injury, and if you are using a wireless mouse, if the battery runs out, it needs to be replaced before it can be used. Okay, again, adaptation for disability. So you get head-mounted monitors, pointers. So it's controlled by switches to stimulate the function of a mouse. These switches can be on the hand or foot pads or pedals or sensors that detect eye movement or facial expressions. Then you get gesture recognition devices. That is basically it recognizes hand gestures, head or eye movements, or read lips or sign language to input information into a computer. Next up, we've got sip and puff devices. So that is basically a switch that operates the computer when users breathe or suck. So it's basically if they blow into tubes and sip through other tubes. Then basically you get a control box which interprets, or software which interprets that sips and puffs, and then allows the basically the cursor to move on screen. Okay, then lastly you've got a mouse trackball. That is basically a stationary ball that you can move from like side to side, almost like in sci-fi movies. You can move the ball and then the cursor moves on the screen, basically like your very first mouses and your Blackberries, your first Blackberries before they had that touchpad. Okay, then we're getting to touchscreens. Okay, so we all know what a touchscreen is. It's basically any screen that you can touch, and then well, it actually recognizes that touch and it takes that touch as an input form. Okay, advantages or disadvantages. So first, advantages is it's easy to use, intuitive, and you don't need much training. Okay, you don't need peripherals such as a keyboard and a separate mouse. The software can alter the screen while it is being used. Okay, so it's a bit more flexible. And then you can make of finger gestures for sophisticated actions, such as if you want to zoom, select, rotate, etc. You can easily just do it with your fingers. Disadvantages, it is not suitable for inputting large amounts of data. So if you want to write a thesis, rather write it on a keyboard instead of a touchscreen. It's not very accurate, so if you want to select detailed objects, it's going to be difficult with your fingers. And here it says less useful as a control input to a standard computer that makes use of the mouse and keyboard. Okay, so obviously mouse and keyboard can be faster. Then we've got again adaptation for disability. So here we can enter commands by voice, entering commands by pressing the controls with a mouth stick, head stick, or stylus. And basically that is just like, if you can't use your hands, you can just attach a stylus, let's say, to your wrist, and then touch the screen with the stylus. Okay, then we've got a touchpad. Touchpads are normally found, if you look at a laptop, it's that small square on the, like, beneath the keyboard. And what that basically does is, if you touch that with your fingers, it moves the mouse pointer on the screen. Advantages is it's useful for laptops when using a mouse isn't practical. So if you've got a confined space, you don't have a large desk, you can easily just use the trackpad. Even if you are sitting with it in a weird, uncomfortable position, you need a mouse on a flat surface. So if you don't have a flat surface, the trackpad is excellent touchpad. So disadvantages is it takes a lot of practice and skill to actually control that the position of the cursor if you're using the touchpad, and as well as moist and sweaty or calloused fingers can disrupt the signals picked up by the sensor. Okay. Then again, disability adaptation. Touchpads are useful to people who cannot hold a device such as the mouse in their hands, but can press on the touchpad with fingers or an eraser pointer. Okay. Then we've got a tablet pen input device. So that is basically a tablet combined with like an interactive pen that allows artists to create art without using a pen and paper. And you can also see tablet pen inputs at banks when you have to actually give your signature. That is a form of a tablet pen input device. Here they speak about the Wacom tablet. So that's basically a graphics tablet. You plug it into your computer and then you are able to draw on that tablet, and it basically uses software to take whatever you draw and display it on the monitor. So that is basically how graphics designers would use a tablet pen input device. Okay, advantages: tablets are easy to handle. It is much more natural to draw with like a pencil rather than with a mouse or actually your fingers. Then it has a great level of accuracy. And the disadvantages is it has weaker capabilities than a laptop or desktop. The screen size is small, and it has a no fixed keyboard and as well as fewer ports. Okay. Adapted for disabilities, so tablets are devices that can be used by people without hand function. And again, this is what I mentioned above. A stylus or splint can be inserted into a vertical holder or strapped to the wrist. Okay. Then other types of input devices, we've got game controllers, which are basically input devices which you use to play games. They've got directional inputs as well as action buttons linked to whatever actions there is inside the game. Okay, then we've got cameras. Cameras allow you to capture images. They are used for making video calls or making recordings on your computer. Microphones allow you to record sound and interact with a computer using your voice. Video capture devices allow you to record a live video stream using your computer. Okay. Then we've got scanners. A scanner allows you to scan the pictures of pages, okay, directly onto your computers, and scanners are often packaged with optical character recognition, so OCR software. And what that basically does is, if you scan in a document, it actually can recognize each character, put it in a document, and then you can actually edit that document again. Okay. Then we've got optical readers. So optical readers are devices that can read data from a physical object, such as the QR code, barcode, or magnetic strip. Okay, then we've got biometric devices. Okay, so these devices read data presented to a computer and compare it then with saved data. Biometric devices include fingerprint, iris, retina scanners, and so forth. Okay, can actually also use voice. Then we've got data collection devices, and that is just data collection devices obtain data directly from a location where an event or transaction takes place. Alright. Then all we have to do for this one is activity 3.1. Okay.